Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this story I have for you is coming straight out of St. Louis and is dealing with the St. Louis Special School District issues, SSD, that's kids with disabilities, and how the Justice Department, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, had to come in because of some real issues that have been taking place in our special school district. But before I get into that, we got to go back. What in the world is happening to our public schools throughout our country? I think our cities, our states, and our federal government are failing our children, which are our future. For example, you've heard me say before, you have in our urban city public schools, whether it's St. Louis Public School System, SLPS, or CPS, Chicago Public School System, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, you have ninth graders that are reading on a fourth grade level. Their math scores, ninth graders, their math scores are on a fourth and fifth grade level. You have kids that are graduating from high school or taking the ACT and getting an average score of 13. What is happening? We have way too many permanent subs, not enough permanent certified teachers. Our administrators, our principals are failing us. We've had superintendent issues with the St. Louis public school system. We've had 3 of them in the last 2.5 years. More concerned about spending and their personal habits than about these children. And so we're gonna have an entire generation, one self-medicating with the opioid crisis, fatherless homes, not knowing how to manage issues or navigate through problems, schools failing these children, and now you even have an issue in the special school district where these kids need even more attention. We're failing them too. And so I'm gonna get into this story that is very disturbing, and something needs to be done about our school system. There is failure all around. Think about it. The majority of our kids in the United States of America are educated through the public school system. That's right, not private school, the public school system. And if we don't get these test scores up, if we don't have more available certified teachers that can teach and care about these kids and be a mentor, a teacher, an advisor, sometimes a psychologist, a therapist, we're going to send these kids straight from high school to prison. It's bad enough that just the look of many of our inner city public schools with how they have to walk through metal detectors, their metal bars on the window, you're already psychologically preparing these children to have a life of incarceration or to be acceptable or accepting of it. Just think about that. You're going to school in the 9th and 10th grade through metal detectors, metal bars on your windows in your classrooms. What does that sound like? And so now, so there's issues with our regular schools, but we have even a bigger permeating issue in our special school district. So let's get into the story. The Department of Justice finds the Special School District of St. Louis Seclusion and Restraint practices and program discriminates against students with disabilities and violates federal law. So the Justice Department notified the Special School District of St. Louis, Missouri, that it found the district's seclusion and restraint practices violate Title II of the American with Disabilities Act. Remember, I tell you all the time, we're in a big political area or arena right now with President Trump. I tell people all the time, know your city and state politics before your national politics. Vote not based on identity politics. but you should vote based on the power of the pen and how your politicians legislate. And so this one is about violating Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Look that up, please. So after a 21-month investigation, the department concluded the district discriminates against students with disabilities by routinely subjecting them to ineffective seclusion practices that are highly susceptible to abuse and restraints without justification, rather than providing the interventions and support they need to receive the education they are guaranteed by federal law. These are federal issues. During a 2-year period of this investigation, during a 2-year period covered by this investigation, listen to these numbers. The district secluded over 300 students almost 4,000 times. Just think if this was your child or your grandchild, your niece or nephew. They already have intellectual disabilities. They need all the help they can get. So they had this district secluded over 300 students almost 4,000 times and restrained almost 150 students 777 times. One district school that enrolled less than 100 students used seclusion 1,667 times. Every student who attended that school was secluded or restrained at least once during the investigative period. That was just during the investigation. What has been going on for the last 10 years? At another school, the students spent 101 hours or the equivalent of 17 days in seclusion during a single school year. The Justice Department will not tolerate the abuse of our most vulnerable students, said Assistant Attorney General Harmet K. Dillon of the Department's Civil Rights Division. Parents should not have to worry that their children could be subject to solitary confinement and dangerous restraint techniques at school because of their disabilities. Does this not sound like prison? What correctional officers have to do and restrain inmates during an uproar? And remember, here are some telltale signs. The majority of inmates in prison do not have a high school diploma, come from single-family homes, generally have a learning disability of some sort, generally have addiction issues, generally have untreated mental health issues or mental illness. This sounds just like, we're talking solitary confinement, restraint techniques. It sounds just like prison. This Civil Rights Division will put an end to these unlawful practices everywhere they find them. These numbers demonstrate that the use of restraint and seclusion is routine and not a crisis response to be used in rare emergencies that pose a safety threat. That's what restraint and seclusion should be for, to assist in a crisis moment where that student is not hurting another student, another teacher, or themselves. That's when you use restraint or seclusion. The only time they are allowed under Missouri law. For example, students were secluded for knocking over a teacher's coffee, refusing to go into music class, or being disrespectful. The department also found that the district routinely uses seclusion in cases where students engaged in self-harm and other concerning behaviors, putting students at risk of physical harm and mental harm. The district is hopeful, the Department of Justice is hopeful the district will agree to the reforms needed to remedy these gross violations of the federal law. And so the department opened up this investigation with the school district back in May of 2024 and examined thousands of incidents reports from the 2022-23 school year and the 2023-24 school years. The investigation focused on 6 district-operated schools. The letter outlined multiple examples of seclusion or restraint being used in situations in which it was deemed unnecessary. In one instance, a second grade student was secluded after refusing to go to music class. In another example, a student was secluded for 3.5 hours for drawing on her chair, cursing, or being disrespectful. According to the U.S. Department of Education, restraint or seclusion should never be used except in situation where a child's behavior poses an imminent danger or serious physical harm to self or others. The department's guidance goes on to state that restraint or seclusion should be avoided to the greatest extent possible without endangering the safety of students and staff. The letter stresses that student safety is not monitored when they are placed in seclusion for lengthy periods. The letter describes an incident in which a third grade student hit himself in the face with a shoe for 2 minutes, giving himself a bloody nose, and then proceeded to wipe his blood on the floor and wall of the seclusion room. The student was not removed from seclusion for another hour. The letter criticizes the district use of the supine restraints, in which an individual is laid on his or her back and two staffers hold down their arms and legs to restrain movement. Think about that. The letter states that the supine restraint was used over 400 times during a 2-year period of the federal investigation. Nearly all of them occurred at Northview High School, located in North County. The school provides special education services to students from Hazelwood, Ferguson, Florissant, Riverview Gardens, and Jennings school districts. Incident reports reflect incidences where staff uses dangerous practice even in the absence of any risk of imminent physical harm, after staff escalated student behavior or without first attempting to de-escalate or other less intrusive interventions. The district did not fully cooperate with the investigation. So listen to what the district did to try to get around this investigation with the Department of Justice. The department says the district repeatedly delayed responding to document requests and denied officials an opportunity to visit schools while in operation or interview its staff in person. The district told the Department of Justice, these school districts told the Department of Justice, our government, they could visit on weekends when students and staff were not present and could conduct staff interviews remotely. Ultimately, the department sent the letters as a warning to the district. No litigation had been filed. The Department of Justice pressed the district to take steps, including stopping the overuse of restraint and seclusion, abandoning the use of supine restraints, and improving its documentation processes. The special school district partners with over 20 public school districts in St. Louis County to provide special education services to students with disabilities. 20 public school districts. And so listen to this and listen to how familiar this sounds. We have understaffing of police officers, understaffing of correctional officers, understaffing of nurses, and definitely understaffing of teachers. The district has dealt with understaffing across all schools. It came under scrutiny last year when a rash of teachers resigned after being reassigned to North County schools, which the district said was necessary to address inequitable staffing.